Awesome. All right, can you see the slides? And I'm not covering over anything with the chat, I don't think. All right.
Yep, we can see everything.
Yeah, good to go. Okay, perfect. I'm set up. All right, so I'm Nick Kellet, co-founder and inventor of Deckable. I'll cover off more of my background towards the end of the session, but I just want to start off with, what is Deckable? And really, Deckable is all the card decks you love on your phone in one app, right? There have been a bunch of different apps that you can use on your phone for decks, but really they've not been very fulfilling. And there certainly has not been a go-to app with all of your decks in one place, right? And so what's super interesting to me is the way the whole card deck space has evolved. And it's become really a very popular thing, but it's super fragmented. Everyone in the card deck space thinks they're in this little tiny niche, and there's hundreds of other niches, and they're actually in a big community of card deck lovers around the world, right? So what we're trying to do is bring that together. And to me, it's funny that this little device that we all take everywhere with us looks like a card deck, but up to this point, it hasn't behaved very much like a card deck, right? But now it can. And well, we asked this simple question: is what will you Deckable now that you can put any card deck on your phone and make money from that deck on your phone, because that's really what we exist for. We're existing to help artists sell more physical decks and sell digital decks and build a community of people who love card decks so that more people can discover card decks and we can all make more card decks and make a living digitally from this platform, or make a living from the card deck and the coaching and all that kind of stuff that goes with it, right? So now your phone can act like a card deck. That's great. Oops, there we go. So this is how we see the card deck category, right? There are so many different types of decks, right? So if you can, and from the chat, we had some conversations about who did which deck, who got a deck, and each of your decks they won't neatly fit into these boxes, but they'll maybe your deck fits in two different categories, right? So I know we had a conversation about birth and death before. There was a deck that fitted into that category. There's lots of tarot and oracle decks. There's quotes and greeting cards as decks, flashcards, books as decks, right? Who's seen a book that's a deck? There's quite a few of those around. Have you seen any of those? Here's an example I keep up right by the side of my desk to remind me. There's this very famous book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, and here's the deck version of it, right? And the cool thing about books as decks is they're much smaller and more consumable and more fun and more engaging and more tactile, right? So basically this whole deck category is all these types of decks exist. My estimation keeps going up, but I think there's something like 20,000 decks in the world. And on top of that, I think I've found over 20 people who are helping people create decks, of which Anna is obviously one of those people, right? And there's just a lot of people fueling the deck creation community. So it's kind of cool. Here's just some of my decks, right? I own quite a lot of decks, and I got curious about decks, and I started trying to create decks on my computer and playing with that, and eventually that led me to discovering and deciding to build Deckable. And along the way, I bought even more decks. And I try and stop buying decks, but it doesn't seem to work very well. And I'm sure the audience here can relate to that. Anyone here have a deck buying problem? Hands up, right? I think we probably all yeah, exactly. I just needed that deck, right? It just kind of makes sense. It's an easy need status to arrive at, right? Anyway, moving on. So basically Deckable, we just think is this really fun brand, and we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Who remembers the tagline for the iPod? When it first launched and Steve Jobs stood on stage, what was the tagline for the iPod? It was 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? And at that point, if you think of 1,000 songs, how many albums is that? Well, even if it's cassettes, you still couldn't fit all those cassettes in your pocket. You'd have to have very big pants, right? Fit them in, not going to work. But it's a cool concept. And then they later went on to make it 10,000 songs in your pocket because the iPod grew in storage. Well, what a cool concept to have 100 decks in your pocket, right? I did a little research. I did a 500 person survey of card deck owners, and they were tarot oracle people more than just other categories. That's the most committed group of people that exist right now in the card deck space. But the average person owned 10 decks, right? And that's an expensive deck collection, but it's also a big deck collection to carry around with you. And those decks are too expensive to take everywhere with you, and they're too bulky. So we leave them at home. But what if, like, does anyone here ever leave home without their mobile phone? That's a very facetious question, right? No one would dare, because, well, it's my wallet, amongst other things. So I wouldn't leave home without your deck, because if I had the deck on my phone, I've got that experience. And then, when I want to ground myself, set an affirmation, anchor the moment through a reading, share something with someone, I've got the deck in hand, right? There was also a very famous campaign for milk, which was just literally "got milk," and that's been kind of plagiarized and memeized by a lot of people, but "got deck" just seems to be a perfect fit for that too, right? So, and then Deckable, really, we mirror ourselves. I mean, Deckable is very innovative in the sense of how we touch cards, but we are just copying everything that Audible does. Beyond the creativity of card decks, we're just using Audible's business model, because basically Audible is all the books you love, listen to on your phone, you take them wherever you go, right? You go to the library and go to the marketplace, buy any book you want and listen to it on the go, right? And that's what we're doing, but for card decks. So why now? A lot of people ask me this question, and this two-part answer, because digitizing decks just makes a lot of sense, because music and books have gone that way. So why hasn't decks, right? And the simple answer, why now, is because no one's done it, right? Someone not on mute there, that would be. Oops. My mouse disappeared. Excuse me. It's back. Okay, so why now is no one's done it. The people who have made tarot deck apps or any kind of deck apps are not tactile. I mean, why do we love cards? Because we touch them, we get messy, we shuffle them, we move them around in surface, we arrange them into piles, we arrange them into spreads. So a deck app needs to be tactile. It also needs to be social, because people need to be should be using your app to share your spreads and readings. How many times have you seen a photograph of a deck or a spread of cards and it's got like terrible lighting and you can see the shadow and the glare? You're like, oh, right? It doesn't, that's not that appealing. It's your deck. You see that, don't you, right? But who's not on there? I'm just going to mute a few people here just temporarily, nothing personal. We got everybody's muted. Perfect. Okay, carry on. Okay. Yeah, so basically these apps have not been social because the sharing has not been effective. They've also not been multi-deck, right? So you buy one app and you get one deck, and you buy a different app and you get a different deck. And the problem with that is, like, and it's just something of a facetious question, is how successful would Spotify be if you had to download a different app for every album, right? It wouldn't work, right? It would just be super annoying. And that's how it feels in the card deck space, because everyone builds a specific app. Well, now with Audible for decks, there is one app you can go to and get any deck you love, right? And the other thing is, we haven't just made it digital. We've created an experience around the deck. We've integrated journaling and meditation and the whole process of using your card deck. So we've made it fun, and we think that's why it's different. The other thing, the why now, is because decks have gone crazy. They're exploding. Tarot is massively trendy, on trend as a young thing. There's a lot of TikTok tarot activity. Mindfulness exploded. The pandemic has exploded. Coaching has exploded. and coaching drives people to have coaching decks. Kickstarter is there, and I find some of the coolest decks I ever buy on Kickstarter, so that makes me very happy. And print platforms, it's really much easier to print a deck than it ever was before, right? So all of this is driving people to create more decks, which is also driving more people to consume more decks, right? So when you join Deckable, you're going to be in good company. Here's some of the decks that some of the deck creators that have already loaded their content onto Deckable. And we're literally loading, multiple decks each day right now as we head towards our launch. We're going to launch at the end of May with over 100 creators and all their decks. And that is just the beginning, because then we're going to relaunch at 250 and 500 and 1,000 decks. And you'll see, I'll explain as we go along, but basically Deckable becomes more valuable to everybody the more decks and the more creators that are on Deckable, because as more creators join, more of their audience joins, and there's more decks for people to buy from and buy, right? So it becomes more valuable to everybody. And like basically Deckable is a marketplace for decks, and everyone's Deckable will be different, right? Because we all own 10, 20, 30 decks, but what decks do we own? They're all very, very different, right? So you personalize your Deckable with the decks you love, and I celebrate your individuality. Like everyone's Deckable is unique, and we're helping you. We're supporting the creative economy by helping you make a living digitally. That's really our idea, right? So let's have a look how we kind of impact the workflow and how this works. So Deckable, when you log in and you've already been using it for a while, your timeline screen might look something like this. It starts from the timeline screen, and the timeline screen is literally a done list. It shows you every card you've touched on every day, and it's like your achievements. I went in and meditated this day, I journaled this day, I did a tarot reading this day, I did this work this day, and it shows you that. So here's how we actually explore the timeline. So I can scroll left and right on any given day because I can have many experiences on each day, and I can scroll up and down. I just reached the end of April, so I can now jump to March. I can explore, right? It's a full visual timeline. And anytime I see a card in my timeline, I can click on it and I can bring up the collection of cards, and those cards are there exactly as I left them, right? They're spread, laid out, flipped over, organized exactly as I chose those cards in that moment. And well, that's fun, right? It's engaging because every time I do a reading, I'm never going to lose it again. And your customers are not going to lose those readings, right? So you've got that emotional trigger. We love cards because they're so beautiful, and the timeline is basically a living gallery of the art in my card deck collection. So who journals here? Anyone? Show of hands journaling. I know I'm a journalist. So and journaling digitally, well, that's kind of fun too these days. I mean, I can literally type on my phone. So this is me typing, right? And you can see it's kind of slow and cumbersome. Journaling is, and then I'm thinking about it. I think I'm going to write thoughtful, yeah. And then I got bored and I start talking to my phone, and you see the speech bubbles there, and now the phone translates what I've talked to it about, right? So journaling's become that easy, right? It's really fun to journal when you can do that, and it's integrated, right? So I pop back up my timeline entry and it shows me my journal entry, right? So I can go back and edit it. I can share it with people, but journaling's simple and fun and easy. And oh, thanks, Diana. And then meditation. Who meditates here? Any show of hands for meditators? I know I'm a meditator, right? Exactly. So you can pick a card from any card deck and then pick a time span and meditate on that card. Here. 3-second meditation, not recommended, but it's very good for demonstration. Right? So it basically, you set the time limit and you ping it on the way in and you ping it on the way out, and then it basically adds that card to your timeline, and you can go back and journal on that entry. Because after we meditate, we have lots of thoughts, right? And then we might want to go back and journal what we thought about in that session. Well, there you go, easily done. So we've basically integrated this mindful workflow. Is this also possible in Dutch? Well, in the fullness of time, absolutely, because basically the App Store is global, And we are not going to just stay in English because that would be crazy, having gone to the great expense of creating all these decks. And the amount of words in the app, by the way, that are in English or Dutch is pretty minimal. See at the bottom, journal, share, curate. There's very little to translate. And the main piece of the content comes from the card decks, right? So we've been focusing on card decks in mainly in English speaking, but we actually have one deck in English and Welsh. We have one deck that's in English and let me think, what is it? Afghani, which is not Afghani, it's called Dirge or something, I think, I'm not forget. But we also have one user that's also talking about translating their deck into 10 languages because they've currently sold 2,000 copies to one company. And it's a 30,000 person company and they speak 10 languages, at least 10 languages across the company. And they're talking about translating the deck, and then we actually have a quote with them of 15,000 copies of Deckable. I'm talking about supplying that deck to them in at least 10 languages. So pretty cool. What do we do with cards, right? Well, we shuffle them, we flip them over, and we arrange them in all different sorts of ways, right? So let's have a look at that. So the shuffling, it's simple, right? It's fun, beautiful. It's your artwork. Oh, by the way, how do you shuffle the deck? Do you want to shuffle it face up or face down? We don't care. We can do it both ways, right? So we can shuffle it with the shared back and shuffle it so you can't see the cards, or you can flip it over. And I just showed you how to shuffle the card kind of unique side up, if you like, right? Okay, this is another fun and silly, facetious question. How many sides does a card have? Okay, we know the technical answer to that is 2, right? And even Elon Musk, with all his major, you want a 6-sided card? We can do that, no worries. And basically, you'll see here, this is a 3-sided card deck. I'm just going to flip it for you. So we're on side 1 there, side 2, side 3, side 1, side 2, side 3, right? And I can then choose the cards and arrange them on my desktop, and I can just flip them over as easy as that. So in Deckable, your deck can have 1 to n cards, and each card can have 1 to n sides. So most cards are just going to be double-sided, right? But if you have an intro booklet, you might have an 8-page folding concertina intro booklet that you package up with your deck. You can just make that into one 8-sided card, and it flip. There's your deck. There's your card, right? So you have complete creative freedom about how you design your deck and structure it. And one really important thing to think of at this point, and this is a bit of a mind blow for a lot of people, is like your printed deck does not have to be the same as your digital deck, right? You can have bonus cards in your digital deck. You can have extra sides to it. You'll see there's other things that are going to vary as we go along, but bear that in mind. You can structure the offering based on how you see it for your clients to offer your digital deck to be a fun, rich, entertaining experience. And therefore you price it as such, right? We're not telling you how to price the deck. That's definitely your choice, right? So I've shown you how to shuffle. I've shown you how to flip. Let's arrange some cards, yeah? So here we go. Here's a set of cards, and I'm going to just basically regroup these cards and cluster them into two stacks, right? This is my yes and no part, right? And I just flip that over to go back there. So who knows how to pinch and zoom? I'm being funny, but who knows how to pinch and zoom? We all do, right? We do this, and we rotate something by doing that, and we pinch and zoom. Well, you can do that with every time you see the card on the playing surface, you can touch the card, you can make it bigger, smaller, you can rotate it, you can move it on top of another card, you can control the stacking, all that's saved away. Because what we're trying to do is make you feel like the deck on your phone is as much fun as the physical deck. We're not going to make it into a physical experience, but we've made it fun and engaging for the phone. So you don't feel oh, I wish I could do this with my deck. We can do more things. There's some things we can do more than a physical deck. You can't stretch, you can't pinch and zoom a physical deck, right? All the cards are the same size, but we can do that on a phone. And I've talked about the multi-sides, right? So this is where it gets really fun and creative. Does anyone here have a hexagonal deck? So this is how we might play with, oh, I'll stop that. I hit 2 buttons, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here's the hexagonal deck, and they can literally, that's okay if the description's long, no problem at all. There is a name to the card and a description to the card. And so the name is typically the short thing, and you can have pages of description. You'll see that in a minute, I think. So you can literally touch the cards, you can move them around, you can rotate them, you're in control. If anyone has a circular deck, some of my favorite decks are circular, they're really cool. So literally we can just arrange the shapes, right? And I should really do this with text on them, but you can see you can rotate them, zoom them, stack them, control them. It's fun. And you know, the important thing, because all of this deck usage is about personal growth, reflection, etc. The key thing is when you're doing this, we got you. You're in the moment. You're not somewhere else. You are thinking about the card deck and the card deck creator and the message of the cards. You are focused. And that is no small feat, right? That's why it's fun to be engaging. And then this is about as far away from a card deck as you could possibly imagine, but it's really fun. And you can make a card deck of photo objects, right? So who wants to play with the teddy bear? Who wants to put the sunglasses on the teddy bear, right? So these are just a card deck of transparent objects. So I'm just showing this to show you the depth of creativity, that things that you can aspire to create if you play with Deckable, right? Because we're trying to create this engaging experience. And I love board games. I play a lot of board games today, so I love the hexagonal shape. And once we realized we could do hexagonal, then doing circles and photo objects was easy too, right? Who has a guidebook to go with their card deck, right? Yeah, exactly, right? And I love tarot and oracle, but I always find it super annoying that I get my cards and then I have to go look up, the cards in the guidebook. Well, we don't have to do that with Deckable because we've got 3-sided cards if we want them, or 4-sided cards. So this is an example. You see, there's the first side, there's the second side, there's the guidebook. No separate guidebook. It's just you flip the card to get to the guidebook. It's really very simple. Right? Does that make sense? It's a really, really simple idea. And if you want to, you can have the guidebook as text, right? I think Miriam was asking, what if the description's long? Well, you can put the guidebook as text, but if your guidebook is visual, just like in this deck, you can literally upload the artwork for the guidebook page by page and attach it to each card. So it's very simple. Audio, video. Who would love to create audio to go with their cards, right? It's a fun thing. I'm going to show you what this deck is. I'm going to show you next is a deck of chants. And this lady's been selling this deck for a number of years now. And you have to read the chants because, well, it's a printed deck. So why would you not expect that was okay to read the chants? But
card number 2, Om Mani Padme Hum. May the jewel of the lotus shine forth this light of love and compassion to unite all existence as one.
Okay, so you can have audio, right? So if you want to create a meditation to go with each card, record the audio, attach to the card, play the audio, right? You've got a meditation deck. If you want to tell us the story behind the art of the deck, your audience are going to fall, like when people buy a deck, it's because they've fallen in love with the artist's work and they want to get closer to the artist. So if you make audio and video to go with it, it's awesome. You don't have to do this. It's totally cool to just digitize your deck and put it onto Deckable. But if you do it, it's just different, fun, engaging, interesting. And if you have video, here's an example of a TED Talks. This is obviously Brené Brown.
So I'll start with this. A couple of years ago, an event planner called me because I was going to do a speaking event, and she called and she said,
well, I won't make you listen to the whole of Brené Brown's TED Talk, but you get the idea, right? So literally you can attach a video or an audio to each card. And then we have a marketplace where you buy the decks, right? And so Deckable is free. The Deckable app is free. You get the deck when it's launched. You get the Deckable app from the Google Play Store or the Apple's iOS store. My brain was blank there. And then you log in, sign up, and then you choose the decks you want and you buy the decks. The decks are in-app purchases, right? And so if this was your deck, you would set the price for it, and I could now choose to buy that deck. It will show me the price. I'll choose if I want to buy it. And then if I choose to buy it, Google or Apple charges my credit card as an in-app purchase. They also take their percentage cut from the App Store, which is typically 15%. And so and this is not a fixed, you set the price, but I'm just going to use $10 because it's an easy way to explain the mathematics, right? So $10, if you sell your deck for $10, $1.50 goes to Apple or Google, depending on the store. That leaves $8.50. And what we do is a 50-50 split with you. There's no monthly fees, no sign-up fees, no listing fees for Deckable, but we basically do a 50-50 split on the revenue from the deck, right? So you set the price, and then we each end up with 42.5% typically of the price. I don't know if that makes sense for everyone, but I can explain that more, or we can do a Q&A session at the end. Cards would not be fun if you couldn't share them, right? And so when you share cards from Deckable, we're sharing first-class images of your cards arranged as you see it, and that's the experience we share. And we can literally tap into your phone book on your Android or iOS phone and share it with a named contact from your phone book. And I could search, I could type in Anna, and then I would send that card collection, and maybe with or without my journal, by the way. I could share cards without a journal. Here's the spread I did today. Or I could share the whole emotional depth of my, heart gushing journal prompt with you as well, if I thought that was appropriate, right? And then you see on the third screen there, the glow, the luminous glow around those cards. That's because the cards have come to me from somebody else, and I haven't opened it yet. When I open it, I'll discover who it's from and if they sent me the journal entry or not, right? So it's very simple, and it's like a social network, but we message each other by sharing cards. And you can either add a journal prompt to that or not. It's up to you. Nice and simple. So it's kind of fun. And then really what we're trying to do in Deckable, because there's lots of people that use cards. There's the coachy type people who typically do a lot of card sorting, grouping, prioritization, learning through the use of cards. And then there's tarot spreads. And we actually address both of those in one app, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to bring everyone that uses card decks into one place, right? So here's a card sort, and card sorting, this is a set of values, a values deck, right? So I'm going to choose what are my top values, and I literally flick through the cards, one like this, I'm scrolling away, and when I see a card I want, this chooses my value, I drag it down into the selector at the bottom, and then I hit next, and it's got my cards on the surface, and I can arrange them any which way. And you see how I can make the creativity smaller than collaboration and well-being the biggest? So I'm actually prioritizing as I organize the cards, right? So it's fun, simple, very tactile, and it's beautiful because I chose the deck that I liked, and the art obviously appeals to me, otherwise I wouldn't have bought the deck. And then spreads I'm imagining for this group is pretty important. And spreads are simply a way of asking 1 to n questions. So if you have a 3-card spread, it's typically got 3 questions attached to it, 2-card spread, 2 questions, etc. right? So in Deckable, you can create as many custom spreads for your deck as you want, right? So you see that Zodiac spread? That was created by me in Deckable for this deck. And I just go and say, I want 13 cards. It puts 13 cards on the playing area. and I size them, rotate them, and I arrange them into the positions that I want. And there we go. I've created it. And then there's a question. You can attach a question to each of those 13 locations, or in the 2-card spread, the 2 locations. So let's have a look at that. So I'm going to do a spread. I pick a deck. I pick the 2-card spread, the yes-no spread, and then I drop the cards into the yes-no spread, right? And then I can reveal that, and I can click on each card in turn in the spread to see what card I picked. I can see the meaning of that card. I can see the question, like the yes and no is there. And basically whatever you type in as the question for yes will be there, and the description below it. And then below that is the description of the card, and that's automatically done for you. So this is, I haven't seen another app that lets you do custom spreads, and these are ridiculously easy to do, and they're fun to interact with as well. So here's a tarot deck by Winslow Domain, and he in his guidebook has this unique spread called the inimical reading, and we literally created that from his guidebook, and then in Deckable, there it is. You choose that reading, and away we go. The full meanings there, etc. Right? So nice and easy. And this is the interface to do it inside Deckable. So you click on any one of those cards, move it to where you want it to, rotate it the way you want it, size it the way you want it, stack it the way you want it, and then type in the question and description. If I scroll down, I'll get all 12 locations there because I've chosen a 12-card spread, right? I hope this is making sense, but I think it's pretty simple. If you use spreads, this should make sense to you, right? And then the last piece of the puzzle is reminders and alerts, right? And this is basically saying, I want to meditate on Monday, I want to journal on Tuesdays, and you can set up those behaviors in the app. And then basically to get your deck onto, I mean, maybe I'm tempted to just stop and have a little question and answer session here right now, but basically Deckable is a self-serve platform. So if you're vaguely technical, you can go to Deckable, sign up, create your deck, upload the artwork for the box and the back of your card. You can create this little data sheet and import your cards. I've told you we can have one-to-end cards, one-to-end sides. You can add audio and video. The artwork spec is we just need the cards to be 1080 pixels or bigger. We can support any aspect ratio, and literally doesn't really matter because you can rotate the cards and pinch and zoom anyway. And we can bring the guidebook integrated in, right? So, but the hardest thing I've found for people to actually embrace about Deckable is the idea it doesn't have to be fixed. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can iterate your deck. You know, you can start with it and put it on Deckable and keep iterating it as you complete the artwork and you realize what looks good and what doesn't, right? And that's totally against the whole Gutenberg printing. We think about, oh, I've got a print run. Oh, I better not make sure there's any mistakes because, you know, it will be annoying and painful to do that, right? So a little bit of a background on me. I literally invent things for a living, and I published a product called Set Analyzer that was the business intelligence tool. I sold that to Business Objects, and that became, they got bought by SAP. I published a board game called Gift Trap, which is this little guy here, my copy of Gift Trap, my board game, and that we sold 100,000 units of that game. We won 20+ awards. I won a Spielder's Yara Prize, which is like the equivalent of an Oscar prize, in the board game world. I was also co-founder of a startup called Listly, which is a top 5,000 website based on Alexa rankings, and it's got approaching 1 million users. So all of this gives me the skills and knowledge and the confidence that Deckable, that I know how to take Deckable to the right, where it's going to go. And Deckable really to become audible for card decks is really the vision for what we're trying to create. And, it just makes sense to me that that's possible and doable. I mentioned Katie before. Katie was the lady that has her deck translated into 2 languages right now, is on target for 10 languages. And she sold 2,500 units of a deck to one company, which is kind of super inspiring to me. And we're talking about, you know, providing Deckable to 15,000 of their employees. That's kind of interesting. And then Charlie has this deck called Career Coaching. It's a really cool concept because he basically has 52 cards in the deck. There's 52 weeks in the year, and he's made 52 blog posts, one blog post for each card. So he's actually created a deck that is a content marketing strategy wrapped into one, because we have to help people find our deck, right? So SEO and content marketing is a very effective way of doing that, right? So I was going to suggest now, if I just pause for everyone, if anyone's got any questions, things they want to know, and you know, depending on what those questions are, I can jump into the app and actually show it to you, because I can do that, or whether we want to ask questions. On the people typically want to know how to get their deck going into Deckable. Everyone's got different questions at this point, so yeah, I think anyone got any questions? If you want to jump off from being mute, and then you know, far away.
Hello, I have a question for you.
Absolutely. Hi, Shelley.
First of all, wow. I've been in the process of creating a deck, and everything I wanted for the digital release of it, your app does. So that's amazing. My question is, when we are editing our deck and uploading it, can we control the background of the color of the app and things like that as well?
Currently, the background of the app is always white.
Always white.
Currently.
Okay.
We have a request. It makes sense to provide cloths, right?
Okay, sorry. If you have a request to provide what?
Cloths, like people always have tarot, a cloth they put on the table for tarot.
Yep.
So we don't have that right now, but it makes total sense that we should be able to let the deck creator provide cloth options, and then the cloth sits behind the cards, and then you put the cards on the cloth, right?
Exactly. Okay.
Right. So yeah, we understand that need. It totally makes sense. It's not there right now, but it's not hard to add. I'm not sure when I'm not promising when we're going to add it or not, but really this is a marathon, not a sprint. Deckable.
Totally. Yeah.
It's a very serious commitment. It's a very serious project. We're going to be building this actively for the next 5 years and beyond, right? I mean, so basically what I've advocated to everyone is, you know, jump on the bus, and that gives you a voice to like say, we should turn left here. Okay. Right. We're turning left. We're putting cloths on. Okay. You know, that's kind of the mindset, right?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, and thanks for the feedback. That was great. Great to hear. So most of you have got decks, so you're in the process of so like the technical process to load this is really very simple. If you have your artwork, literally all we need is a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF for the back of the card. If you have a common back, we need the 2D box cover image, and we also need the artwork for each side. Does anyone here have a card deck with a different front and back? Yeah. Okay. So yes. So if you have a different front and back, no problem at all, right? We just in the spreadsheet that we upload, we literally just need the 2 file names. I can show you that just quickly here. Oops, just a minute. Share screen. So here's an example in this spreadsheet. There's side 1 and side 2, and we just combine the file name for side 1, comma, the file name for side 2, and then we upload that, and then it's really very simple. So 2-sided decks, no problem at all. And it is, you know, typically I know I've done it lots of times. It takes me about an hour to upload a deck, right? But if you're technical and you want to do it yourself, you're more than welcome to do it. It is a self. I know Anna uploaded her deck herself, right? But if you want to upload your own deck, you're more than welcome. If you're not technical and you're fazed by that, we're basically all we ask you to do is go to Deckable, sign up, agree to our terms, and then you can we transfer us the files, and we'll create you that spreadsheet. And then you might need to tweak some stuff in the spreadsheet. We might need to cut and paste some text in there, but basically we can create you the cards and manage the artwork in that process really easily. So yeah, any other questions, anyone?
I do have a question on, so my card deck, as a psychic artist, I actually channel portraits through of spirit guides and people that have crossed over, and they're in the deck.
Okay.
And I have created the wording right on the cards, and then there's a crystal that's infused. So that's the back of the card. As a crystal resonance therapist, I do the crystal work too. And I have a coaching program. So sometimes I want to be able to provide, I can see this being able to provide my coaching students with that. So is there a way to do like provide perhaps like a how you get a coupon code so that they don't have to pay for it?
Right.
Like if it was included in the coaching program.
Right. We do intend to have a coupon code.
Okay.
But the basic idea of it is that they can find it in Deckable on the marketplace, right?
Right.
And that helps new people find you. But if you've sold your course with this included, then we intend to basically give you a coupon program where you'll pay for the coupon, and then you can bundle that into your course, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and
that's great. Thanks.
That same couponing mechanism will also, say you've sold 1,000 copies of your deck already, and we don't. At this point, we say, would you like to give away the deck to those 1,000 people? A lot of people are like, no, I want to charge them. Okay, well, great. Or we'll support you because those coupons are a way to give people access to it, right? And because right now, quite simply, the mindset we have is bring 100 people to the platform with all their decks, and everyone benefits, right? Everyone's other customers can buy each other's decks. And literally, our goal is to get to 1,000 decks as soon as we can, 1,000 creators. And when we add that 1,000th creator and they bring their 10,000 customers to the platform, there's 999 other decks for them to buy, right? It becomes more valuable to everyone as we create that. If that makes sense. So, yeah, any other questions, anyone? Do you want to see the actual app for real? I can show, because I showed you videos of it, but I have it on my phone here. Is that good? Good. Let make sure. Has anyone got any other questions before we go? Because I don't want to miss out anyone's questions. And also, one thing that I always think is important. Oh, so it launches the end of May, and our goal is to have 100 creators on board. So once we've got the 100. We're going to launch in a collaborative way, as many with, helping each other promote each other's decks and share as much as possible, right? We're creating a new behavior here, right? People have not got used to the idea of having a card deck app on their phone, nor an app that has 10 decks in it, right? So we're creating new things. And that takes a while for people to teach and learn and, get used to the idea. But we're just keeping going with this launch, get to 100. I know as soon as we launch with 100 creators, that it will be the easiest thing for us to then recruit the next 200 creators, because the first 100 creators have had to say yes when the app doesn't exist. I couldn't even demonstrate it. I can show it you now, but I signed up 50 people before we'd even built it, right? Because the concept is so interesting and unique and different. So we know this is, I imagine you're all feeling. How are you feeling right now? Like, how is this experience for you? and you're like, wow, okay, I can see. And that's what people's reaction to this is. So what am I trying to say? So basically, we're going to keep going with this. We're going to launch and promote it. And what we're trying to do is bring more people to Deckable. And at some point, we will do everything that Audible does, right? So Audible has deck of the day, deal of the day. We will have deck of the day, right? So the deck of the day will be at a special price. People will buy it because it's at the special price. I know I have bought a lot of my books on Audible for the $4 or $5 price, right? And then I buy that book and then I'm like, oh, this author's pretty cool. And then I'm on the hook for buying another 10 of that author's books, right? So there is a value prop here to having multiple decks on Deckable, because you can offer someone in to get one and they're like, oh, I love Anna's work, really. Oh, look, she's got 6 other decks. Oh, I can buy those too, right? So that's really the mindset. And at some point, we will also go to Kickstarter and do a big launch on Kickstarter when we have enough decks. And maybe we'll say, here's 20 decks for $20. You might think, well, that's not, I don't want to sell my deck for $1. It's not about the $20. It's about the 20,000 people who come to Deckable because they bought into that deal. And then they've got all the other decks to create, right? And having launched Gift Trap, having launched and promoted Listly to build what Listly became, I have a lot of experience in that. And so this is really crowdsourcing and collaboration at its best, right? Can you make one deck with many translations? Is that the question? I think, yeah. I think that's literally what we're planning. We're not totally sure. We haven't totally pinned it down, but in the conversations I'm having with, oh my God, my mind's gone blank. With the Amico deck, with Katie, we talked about like, each different language could be a different side, right? So you could have a French, German, English deck, which has just got a French, German, English side, right? And then you would filter the deck to show you only a certain language. I haven't totally nailed all the details of that, but that's what we're imagining. Okay, so, and then also we do ask for exclusivity. I'm just trying to think what I haven't told you before I jump into it. We ask for an exclusivity that doesn't exist right now. So we ask you not to use another deck, like another app like Deckable. And there isn't another app like Deckable, but we think someone will try and create one. And we know that running these things and recruiting people is a lot of hard work. And we're not going to let somebody come along and just like, jump on and mirror what we've done and have all the same content, because Audible is super successful because there is one Audible. Spotify won out against iTunes because it's just, there's a winner in every one of these categories. And that's really what we're trying to create with Deckable. So, and then basically everything else that's in our contract, we protect your copyright. We don't sell you own your copyright. You simply give us the ability to sell a license to use your deck inside Deckable, right? So that's the extent of it. You grant us a license to grant other people the ability to have a license to use your art inside Deckable, and that's it. It's not, we don't download the deck to their photo gallery, right? It's secure inside the app. So, and I'm mentioning all this because I know, we're dealing with we're all creative, we're all artists. These are our treasured works, right? That we're looking after, and we want to make sure. I'm telling you all this to make sure you, know that we're looking after your interests. And if you've got any concerns or any questions, ping me, email me. I will answer those questions. I will jump on a Zoom call and chat to you about it. Like, your thoughts as creatives matter to me. Like, this is really important that you kind of feel safe and trusted and valued in this process. So, okay, so I'm going to jump. If no one has any other questions, I'm going to just do a little quick demo, if that makes sense. Okay, here we go. So this is my Deckable deck, Deckable is the Deckable app, and I'm just looking at April at the moment. And I can scroll up and down on any given day, scroll left and right. I can pop up. If I click on that, I can see these are the cards that I touched on that given day. And these are you know, I'm literally pinching and zooming, right, to do that. And if I put that card on top, when I come back out, that card's on top in the spread that I've arranged, right? So let's look and do something new. So I'm going to do a card sort, and I'm going to choose some cards from this Amico card deck, which is Katie we talked about before. So here's Katie's deck. We can shuffle Katie's deck, and this is shuffling it face down, right? So there's my deck shuffled, and now I can flick through here, and I can flip the card over to see the other side if I want to, and I can choose it here. I could also flip all the cards over, shuffle again, and this time I shuffle face up, right? So you have total freedom how you want to do it. And now I've chosen those 3 cards, and now on here, I can, oh, I want to flip that over, okay. And now I come out of here, and there it is in my timeline on the 7th. That's the thing I did in my calendar. Oh, I forgot to journal. So I'm going to just go in here and, you know, I feel, right? But I'm very lazy, and it's much more fun to talk. I'm very lazy, and it's much more fun to talk. Right? That's simple. Does that look fun? And I come back out, and it's, you can see the little purple dot at the bottom. I've shared my journal. So I could then choose to share that with a friend, right? And I don't know if Anna's in my calendar. No, I don't think I've set you up in my, anyway, there we go. Oh, all the different Annas. Oh, there you are. So I could literally just check that, and then Anna would receive that. You know, I'm not going to send that so you can get it, but if it would, you would receive that as in your inbox, and then you would be invited to Deckable, and you come and open up that, and you would receive the cards that I shared you, right? If I wanted to share it with the journal, I have to share from the bottom of this screen here, share journal. So I can share with the cards, just the cards, or I can share the journal. And when you get the cards, you can literally touch them and move them around, but you can't buy the deck. You can't use the whole deck. You can buy the deck. So that's the purpose of sharing, is to help put your cards in the hands of more people who will then go, love these cards, I want to own this deck, right? So let's do a tarot spread. Okay, so I'm going to pick this. I'll do this deck here. Okay, and I'm just going to pick a 2-card spread because it's nice and easy. I can shuffle the deck. And now I can flick through and choose, intuitively feel which cards I want to choose. Done. And now I can reveal, and I can touch each card in turn to see what card I picked. I want to look at the card. I want to read it. Right. Great. Done. And there's my spread back to those cards. And then if I want to meditate on a particular card, I could just pick this card here, click on it, choose meditate, just choose 3 seconds, counts down, 1, 2, 3, it's finished. I come back up at there it is, and now I can journal on it. So that was great. There we go. Right. So that's basically Deckable. I don't know if anyone has any questions, wants to see anything, but that's, oh, I didn't show you curation, by the way. You can curate, so you can make your own super deck, 3 cards from here, 3 cards from there, 2 cards from there, and then you've got a super deck. I don't know if has anyone heard of Aliman? Aliman is a Kickstarter deck. It sold 20,000 copies. And the big thing about Aliman was it was 100+ cards from 100+ decks. And there was a people in a Facebook group that I remember of who were all waiting for the Aliman deck to arrive, and they couldn't wait for this mix and match deck. So they started posting each other cards. So they created a mix and match deck. And to me, that was, we were already planning to do this. Could buy yes, there's a link. Yes, we do absolutely have that. Thank you. Good question. I'd forgotten to mention that. So you can specify the buy page for your deck, and then from your deck, you can literally choose to, well, when people find your deck inside Deckable, they can decide buy the physical deck or buy the printed deck, right? So Deckable exists to help you sell more decks, right? That's really the big idea. I think I've probably exhausted myself of answering all my own questions. So if anyone else has got any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I think I mentally go through this process of like ticking off all the things I've told you or not told you. Yeah, basically, if you want to get started with Deckable, go to deckable.com/start. So and then there's you can sign up. So you can create an account on Deckable. We'll send you an email to confirm your account. As soon as you click on that, it'll take you to agree to our terms. And then you can, once you've agreed to the terms, you can hit plus to create your deck and then start creating your spreadsheet from there. I think that's just about it. And look, if you want to upload your own deck, more than happy to kind of handhold you through that process. If you're not technical and you just want to WeTransfer the files to us, we'll put the spreadsheet together for you, send it back to you, and then you can, cut and paste and fill in the blanks, because I'm sure there usually are ones. But basically, we'll do the hard thing, which is like, oh, here's the spreadsheet, here's the artwork. Oh, there we go, right? And we can integrate your guidebook in there if you've got a guidebook. We can have separate cards that are explainer cards, and we remove those explainer cards from shuffle so that things don't get mixed up. So you can basically have as many cards in your deck as you like, but your core set of cards are the cards you shuffle. I think I have, yeah, so I talked about I think I've answered everything that I can see from the, if I've missed your question or I didn't answer it completely, feel free to ask it again. I will not be offended. If anyone's got any questions. So how are we feeling? Has this been useful for you? Does this meet your expectations from a deck perspective? Cool.
I absolutely love it.
Cool. Thanks.
Excited to look at it. Yeah.
Oh, I like mind blown. I'll take mind blown. That's good. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, makes me feel it's exciting to do all this hard work and to be at this point, but to see that all come together is very it's very gratifying to put this in front of an audience who live and breathe card decks and get that response. So thank you. And then, but I'm Nick Kellet just about everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm very happy to connect in all places. I always find that useful. And the other thing I would just say is, deck creators know deck creators. So if you have a friend that is a deck creator, share, recommend, introduce me to them. This reaching out to people cold is hard work. Literally, I can find everybody in the card creating community, but it doesn't mean to say I can actually get their attention in their inbox and book time with them. So that bit is challenging. So introductions really help. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Anna, have you any thoughts, feelings, reactions to the?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for this amazing presentation, and I really love what you've created here, what we are creating together here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
yes, all of us and the entire community. And yeah, I think this is definitely something that I could see myself using, and just based on like all the other apps that you mentioned as well. I mean, Spotify is one of my favorites.
right.
I don't have Audible, but it just makes things so much easier. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I have some of the Hay House stacks and some others too, but just having them all in one place, and then the journaling option, I mean, that one really speaks to me, because that's like one of the things I really love to do. And also when I use my physical cards, but then I have like, so many journals, and then
Right.
I can't really keep them all or I can't find what I wrote down.
Right. That's totally
Yeah.
my feeling. It's like I scribble stuff down, I write in different books. And then I'm like, where did I put that? Right. Oh. And thank you for reminding me that, honestly, Deckable is nothing without the decks, right? So it's our job is to slide into the background and let your deck shine, right? But we need to build a platform that can do that can host all these decks and make it. I think Deckable will be successful because everyone's reaction to it is very similar to the reaction of everyone today. And when it has 100 decks on it, it's like a wow, right? And then because it has 100 decks, it'll have 500 and then 1,000 and then, you know. But this is a lot of work, a lot of talking, a lot of education, and it's fun, right? I know I find it enjoyable. It's challenging but enjoyable. So thank you, everybody. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me, I'm Nick at nickkellet.com. I'm available everywhere, so definitely connect with me. And yeah, here to help. And no question is too stupid, really, literally. You cannot ask, there is no such thing as a stupid question. So don't be embarrassed about anything that you think about trusting the platform. If you want to ask me how it's secure, why, anything, just ask, right? Really, it's not. I take artists' hesitancy very seriously, right? I really want to understand, if you have any hesitancy, what it is and what we can do about it, because, everyone's different. Everyone has different thought process, and I honor and respect all of those. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, thanks to everyone for the comments. It's been great. I'm going to save those chat comments before I forget. Disappear. Okay. Well, if yeah, thanks very much, everyone. If anyone's got any more questions, you're welcome to stay on, and we can keep chatting. If there's anything, I'll stop the recording.